Thank you for being here. So today we'll talk about hydration, and I'll try to explain it like I'm 5, because I like to explain things how I would love to learn them. So as easier it is it better? So a little bit of a presentation. I'm a lead software developer at Scaling Parrots, that is a little company in the north of Italy, in Brescia. And I'm a front-end specialist. I work with Web3 a lot because we are specialized in blockchain, so I try to do that in the best way possible. And I love everything that is technology and talk about this. This is my actual stack that I'm working with. I just love the new logo of Angular, so a little moment for that. So, hydration. With Angular 16, we actually started to talk about hydration in Angular. I work mainly on Angular, so I didn't had the opportunity to use hydration with my work. So I didn't know much about hydration. And with Angular 16, so hydration was everywhere. Everyone was talking about hydration, and I didn't know what it is, actually. But actually, hydration is not something just related to front-end development. It's actually something general in programming. Actually, if we have this class person with first name, last name, and age, and we instantiate a new variable person, is a new person, if we console log this, we just have an empty object. So when we fill out the data in this object, we are actually hydrating the object. So hydration is something that we always use, and it's not related to a framework or a technology, but it's actually something about programming that we use every day. So before talking about hydration, we need to talk about server-side rendering. So server-side rendering is like a technique that involves rendering our web application from a server, and we get a full rendered HTML, then we serve on our browser. And this is a little bit different from what we are used to with the front end that we use traditional single page application. So we render our project, and we get HTML index.html that is our single page application, and all the JavaScript that allows us to interact with our application. So it is all the content is dynamically loaded using our JavaScript, but actually is a single page application. What's the benefits of using server-side rendering? We have a faster initial loading, so we don't have that white blank page at the start of our project that we all hate. We have some improved SEO, and is important for our search engines, and better performance. So this is what everyone was looking for, and server-side rendering was offering this for web applications. So let's see a little bit of history of server-side rendering, and also in particular with Angular, of course. So in the old days, at the beginning of the century, actually, all the front end was built using server-side technologies like PHP, Java, Ruby, ASP.NET. So client-side wasn't a thing. No one was interested on the client everything was on the server, and they were like happy with that. 10 years later, actually, it's actually flipped completely, and it was all about the client. So it was every like framework and library for the front end was like for single page applications. So server-side rendering was actually something about the past, and people was like not interested in server-side anymore. And they thought like it was something from the past, and we will not even use it in the future. And then in modern web, and finally, we have this combined between server-side and client-side. So we use both, because now we have the focus on the user. So we don't focus on client only or server only, because like this will be like easier for developers, because we just need to focus on one thing. But for the user, the most important thing is performance, and to just have things to be fast. And they don't care actually what we are using underneath. So we start to see these two technologies work together. What about Angular? Angular was created in 2011 or so, and actually was created in the age of single-page applications. So JavaScript, all the JavaScript frameworks and libraries that was built at that time was single-page application. So it was a single-page application, and when they presented Angular version 1, AngularJS, in 2013, actually the Angular team told in one conference that they actually built server-side rendering like for AngularJS, so for version 1. But they actually abandoned it, and the reason why they abandoned it is because like they was thinking the user wants server-side rendering just for the SEO and for performance, and if they worked on the client side and improved that, they will improve that, and server-side rendering wasn't like that important to have. And at the same conference, actually, Miško, that is the creator of Angular, was like reflecting on server-side rendering, and he was like, do you think that in the future we will like work with server-side rendering and server-side rendering will be a thing? And he was, no, absolutely not. And this is funny because like now, if you talk with Miško, he actually can't stop talking about server-side rendering, and he actually built his own JavaScript framework that is completely centered on server-side rendering. So it's actually a thing, and we can see that with the last versions of Angular as well. So let's see a little bit of difference how it actually works. So for single-page application, we have the browser, and the browser just interact with the server the first time to get all the HTML rendered, and everything is actually managed in this single-page application. So all the routing and everything is all managed here, and we just talk with the APIs, our backend, to get the data for our application. With server-side rendering, we still have the browser that actually interact with the server every time we change our route. So for every route, we get a feedback from the server that gives us the HTML for that specific route, and then sometimes we can actually get the data from the APIs directly from the server. So we just get this HTML that is already filled with data. So we don't actually need to speak directly from our application to the backend, to the APIs, but even if it's still possible to do that. So Angular Universal was like the tool that allows us to do server-side rendering in Angular. And actually was built by Jeff Wispley, that he was at that conference when AngularJS was presented for the first time. And when Mishko was talking about server-side rendering, he was so mad because he wanted server-side rendering for Angular. So he built his own server-side rendering tool to allow us to use it for Angular application. And after a couple of years, he presented at ngConf in a lightning talk his idea, and has been accepted a lot. And even he met Patrick, that is the co-builder of Angular Universal at that conference. And from them, they started working with Angular to try to make Angular Universal more like working side to side with the latest version of Angular, because when Angular Universal has been created at the beginning was the era where AngularJS was starting to become Angular 2, so it was like a big thing for Angular, and they had a lot of troubles at the beginning for that reason, but they stick with it, and they gives us a real set of tools and techniques that enable us to use server-side rendering in our Angular applications. And this provides us such benefits like performance, better search engine like SEO, and a better user experience, so performance. To add server-side rendering is just this ng-add ng-universal express engine, because for the server we are using Express.js, and they with that import we actually had a lot of configuration built for us, and we can build and serve our application with these commands. And then for making it work, we need this Angular platform server, that is a package that allows server-side rendering in our Angular application. And the important part is that actually the server bootstraps our app model and gets all the imports from them. So for ng-universal express engine, it's important because it uses Express.js and allows all the components on the server to handling all the HTTP requests. And this is how is like configured. We just ask an HTML from our Express engine. So let's see a little example of an application using Angular Universal. This is version 14 because I want to make a difference between what was before Angular 16, when we had a big introductions. So the most important thing that maybe they don't tell us about is that when we install ng-universal, we need to make sure that we are using the same version of our Angular. So if we are using 14, we cannot use ng-universal 16 because we will have trouble. So try to stick with the same version. So we have ng-universal, Express engine, and Angular platform server. These are the most important imports. And when we end Express, of course, because we are using Express. With ng-universal, when you install it, it actually will create some files for us. The first one, we have the main TS, and we see this main server TS. And the main server TS is actually has this enable production mode, and we have these two imports. That is app server module. So it's not our app module, but it's an app module for the server, and we'll see that, and the render module from platform server. So if we see here in the app, we have this app server module that actually imports our app module. So we'll get everything that is in our app module, and we use this server module from platform server from Angular. And then the most important file actually is this server TS that is actually our server, our Express server that built our application and just serve it on the browser. So let's try to see how this perform. I will perform it like as a client-side rendering first with ngserve. Let's see. Okay. So it's just a little example, and we'll see what we get as our HTML. We have all our application and all the JavaScript that we just uploaded. But if we go here and use this dev SSR, we are going to serve our application using server-side rendering. And if we run this, it says that it's not ready for production. And this is an important thing, because we cannot use Angular Universal for production. So it's just for development mode. As you can see, the server is started before, and then you see our client application that has been started. And here we have the same output. But if you see, we have here two scripts. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe it's better. We have our server working here that is different from the other result for our HTML, but still we have all our application and all the JavaScript that we need. What actually is happening here is that Angular Universal uses server-side rendering. So it asks the server to get the HTML. The HTML arrives to our Angular application, to our client, and Angular what does to it, it destroys the HTML that was created from the server and rendered again, and re-rendered the application with a new HTML. And this causes like some glitches for the application. We'll see in another example. Maybe it's more. You can see actually the loss of performance. So Angular 16. With Angular 16, we have some improvements for server-side rendering. So this was what we could do with server-side rendering before Angular 16. It wasn't like something so special, but they were working with that. So in Angular 16, we had hydration. What is hydration? Hydration is something that stays in between server-side and the client-side and allows us just to perform better the two sides and to avoid that flits when we perform our application. So what happened? When we request a route from the server, an HTML gets generated. So the server side sends to the client an HTML. Angular bootstraps this HTML and destroys the HTML from the server and regenerates a new HTML. With hydration, what we can do, we can reuse what actually the server gives us, and don't destroy that code, and just reuses and gets a better performance. So let's see another example of this. Let me close this ones. Okay. So in this case, we are with Angular 16. Nothing changed, actually. We have Angular ng Universal and Platform Server. Everything is working the same thing. We have our Express server that is running here. The only difference is in the configuration, because now we can improve and use hydration. Let's see how it's worked without hydration. What I did here is just render a home page that is this home component that just displays homeworks, and I added a resolver that is just a timer of 3 seconds to actually let you see what is happening under the hood of server-side rendering. So if we serve this application as with server-side without hydration, so same thing as earlier, just using Angular 16. So this waits 3 seconds, and then upload the HTML that gets destroyed, waits 3 seconds, and then gets the new HTML. So if we just start with ng-serve, so client side, we just have blank page, 3 seconds, and gets our HTML. So with server-side rendering, we actually make this HTML to be destroyed, something a little bit like less performing, and we was looking for performance. So with hydration, actually, if we add, we just have to add here in app config with our in our providers, these provide client hydration, just this configuration. And if we re-rendered our server-side application, we have a different performance, because it waits 3 seconds from the server, and then we have our application ready to use. So it won't re-render, and you can see that when we actually, here we have like the localhost, 3 seconds, and then we get the route that is home. So it's just reuse what's actually is just rendered, and avoid this double re-render of the web page. Okay, so far we have big improvements, big performance was starting to be here, but still we didn't have something that was production ready, because it was still something in a different repository. Was Angular Universal working on one side and Angular working on another side, and it wasn't production ready, and people was complaining about that, and so many other things that wasn't performing. So a couple of weeks ago, Angular 17 was released, and with our beautiful new logo, we actually had some improvements for hydration. And they actually worked so much on hydration because it's a trend for front-end now. So all the other JavaScript frameworks works so much for server-side rendering. So people was asking Angular actually to improve hydration and server-side rendering. So hydration now is stable for version 17. And now we have the possibility to create our server-side enabled application from the start, just adding the SSR flag. But if we forget to add this flag, we can actually, when we just use ng-new command, it asks us if we want to use server-side rendering. So it's something that it's now built in with Angular. For version 17, the default is still no, but they are planning for version 18 and so on to make it yes for a default. So now to enable SSR, we don't have to import Angular Universal anymore because the Angular Universal repository was moved into the Angular CLI repository. So now it's all in the Angular project. So if you want to add server-side rendering to your existing projects, you can do it just with ng-add Angular SSR. So let's see how it works with Angular 17. So let me close this once and stop here. So Angular 17, as you can see, we don't have ng universal anymore, but we have this Angular SSR that takes his place. We still have Express because the server is still using Express.js and our platform server. So this is just what was changed. We still have our main server TS that's bootstrapping our application, our app config server that's just use this server render. And then for our server, we still have our server with Express that's render our application. So if we make this start, it's the same application as earlier. So now we don't have a command for server-side rendering because it's actually built in Angular. So it's just our ng-serve will work for server-side rendering. So if we serve our application, you can see our server is running and then our client application running. So 3 seconds and then we get our HTML and we are ready to go. So big improvements for Angular with hydration and server-side rendering. So the Angular team with this last version of Angular told us about these improvements that we will see. That is SM support for server builds, build speed improvements, and we like that, and some SSR improvements for dev server. So if you want to try everything that Angular 17 offers us now, and you haven't already, so go and update to get everything from the last version of Angular, and thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. So any question for Soumaya? One question.
Thank you for the talk. So I have 2 questions really, but I think that are strictly related. So what happens when you made a production build so you cannot use Express? And what happens on server-side rendering with routing? So routes are physically deployed or the internal Angular routing is still used?
So for the routing, we still have to pass to the server all the routing, because it was like with all the providers, the first provider that we pass is all the routing, and then the server just knows which files it has to render for to giving you like the right HTML for that part of the application. For the second question, it's actually, you cannot build it. It's not secure, let's say. I've tried to do it. It wasn't a success, so I just trust Angular and say, okay, if they don't think it's ready, it's not ready, so yeah, yes.
Any other question? From home? No. Any other question? It's your work. It's your job.
I paid the ticket. Not really, actually, sponsored. Thank you for the talk. Never played with server-side rendering firsthand, but this may be a newbie question. From my understanding, server-side rendered pages actually do not need JavaScript within them. So they are able to, we are able to run our application to see our website without the need of JavaScript on the client side. With hydration and with all this optimization in place, is it still true? So it's not only something for SEO and robots and bots, everything, but is it still true that our resulting page has no JavaScript in it?
It's not true that doesn't have any JavaScript, but we have less JavaScript than the beginning. If you see, like, I will show you because I have the example here. This was with Angular 17. And as you see, we just have 2 JavaScript files here. But with, let's see, this one, with Angular 16, just to show you really quick the difference. As you see, you have so many JavaScript.
We're still dependent on that.
Yes, we are dependent, yes. Because all like the event handler, everything that's actually make our application interactive is still on the JavaScript, yes.
Any other? Okay. You're starting to get used to make questions, right?
Hi.
Hey.
So I've never used the Angular Universal. I will ask, we can choose what is rendered by server and what is on client, such as Next, no? Hybrid rendering. So I want that this is client side, this is server side. It's possible with the now with
I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe because it's like early stage for Angular with this. We're just starting to use that. But maybe I will like, we can see like more improvements in the future. Of course, because they are working so much on this part.
Yes, because this is very interesting. Choose what render side, what client.
Yeah,
I like Next.js for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other question? No. I think. Sorry. My side is very small.
Hi. Nice talk. I would like to ask a question. Is it planned to be able to choose a different backend instead of Express?
We just have Express for now. Just have Express, yes.
All right. Would it be possible to use maybe a different language, like a Java backend or Python or something else?
But still, you will not get like the complete integration with Angular, because like as you can see, like the server side tools to make Angular work with the server side is by its own package that is working on Express. So I don't know if you can like use a second backend for that. Never tried it, but the thing that we are sure for, like 100% sure that is working is Express for now.
Correct. So node-based in the end.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wants to use Java with Angular? No? No. So a big round of applause for Soumaya, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.